All right, let's jump back into the rest of 6.5. Hopefully, we'll see how far this video goes. So the next part of this is looking at percents. So we already talked about decimals and all that stuff. So now percent, by definition, 1% is equal to 1 out of 100, which is equal to, as a decimal, 0.01. So what we're going to be looking at for the first part is just how we can convert from one form to another. So we got a few conversions we're going to look at. It's not all of them, but it's the primary ones we're going to be focusing on. So to convert a percent to a decimal, we want to drop the percent symbol and move the decimal point to the left 2 places. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I use to help me remember which way we're moving it. So to convert a decimal to a percent, move the decimal point to the right 2 places and insert the percent symbol. And then the third one we're looking at, to convert a fraction to a percent, convert the fraction to a decimal, and then convert the decimal to a percent. So this one's kind of a cheat because we're using that process to change a decimal to a percent in there. Now, a little diagram that I've coined over the years looks something like this. I'm going to use D for decimal and P for percent. Put them in alphabetical order, and that keeps the order straight. Now, think of it sort of like a clock or a circle, however you want to phrase it. So you always are going 2 places one way or 2 places the other. So if you're starting with a decimal and you want to get to the percent, you got to go 2 places to the right. But if you're at a percent and you want to get back to a decimal, you got to go 2 places to the left. So it's just kind of a little circular type of diagram to help you remember it. So, okay, so we're starting with a percent. So we want to change it to a decimal. So using our little diagram, it's going to go to the left 2 places. Now, the one thing you got to be careful about is where's the decimal point originally in the problem. And as long as you have that clear, then there should be no issues. So in this case, the decimal point's not explicitly indicated, so we have to assume it's right here at the end of the number. So we got to move it 2 places to the left. And so your answer should be 0.87. Now, I'm a big math nerd, so I like to have the 0 in front of the decimal point. Do you have to put that in there? No. But make sure your decimal point is abundantly clear if you're handing in written work. So otherwise, you might get it marked wrong. So the 0 just helps kind of point that out that there's something fishy going on. So you're going to look for that decimal point if you see that 0. So, okay, so what about the next one? And now the decimal point is explicitly indicated. So we have to go from there, again, to the left 2 places. So 1, 2. And now there isn't another digit in that second spot, so we have to add in a 0. So your answer should be 0.064. All right. One more. Decimal point is in there, so we got to go from there to the left 2 places. So 1, 2. So 0.008. That should be it, right? No, I made a mistake, didn't I? I need another 0 in there. So 0.008. So yeah, so if I moved it back 2 places, then it's back to where it started. So we're good. So it doesn't hurt to always just double check it and go back to the direction, the other direction. All right, so far so good. Let's do some of the other direction. So now we want to change each to a percent. So now we're at a decimal, we want to go back to a percent, so it's going to go to the right. So this one, the decimal point is there. So ding, ding. So this looks like it should be 23%. How about the next one? You can do that one right in your head, right? Sure you can. 73.2%. What about the last one? Well, same as the other ones. If there's not enough digits, you have to add in zeros. So in this case, it does have to go 2 places still. So we're going to need that extra 0. So 170% for that one. All right. Let's try some fraction ones. So the fraction ones, The trick they say to use in the textbook is just to change it to a decimal first. Now be careful when you change it to a decimal. The top number goes in your calculator first, divided by the bottom one. So 1 divided by 5 is equal to 0.2. Now, the mistake people often make because they're trying to rush too fast is they'll just throw the percent symbol on that and call it done. But you're not going to get it right if you do that. So don't just add the percent symbol on. You have to move the decimal point also. So in this case, we should end up with 20%. So 1/5 is 0.2 and 0.2 is 20%. So what about 3/8? What would that one be as a percent? Well, first let's get the decimal, 0.375, and then if we go to our two places, 37.5%. All right, now the last one, I'm not sure about that one off the top of my head, so I'm going to use a calculator just to make sure. So let's see, I got a reflection going on here. Let's try there. How about 4 divided by 15 equals, all right, so we get a lot of 6's in here. So 0.26666, and it goes on forever. Even though it has a 7 here, your calculator rounds. It only has so many places, so the last spot's going to round either up or down depending on what the digit is after it. And it's a bunch of 6's, so it's going to round it up to a 7. But technically, it does just go on forever and ever. So now if you move the decimal point over 2 spots, whoops, 26.6666%. Now you're not going to want to leave your answer like that, more than likely. So the question will probably say to round it to the nearest tenth or something like that. So you want to be careful. Rounding is important, but you want to always do it on the very last step. Once you've done all the work and you've got an answer that looks pretty good, that's when you round it. Don't round it in the middle of the process, because otherwise you might make mistakes. So for example, if we were to round this to the nearest tenth, well, that's going to round it to a 0.3. So are we saying that this is equal to 30%? No. So you want to round it here to the nearest tenth. To the nearest tenth here would be 26.7%. So it does make a difference where you round in your process when you're doing these problems. So always round at the very, very end, and then you should be good. So, all right. Well, so that was a little bit about fractions. Now this next part gets into the applications of fractions, and I think I'm going to stop the video here, and we'll pick up this last part in the next one. So see you in a minute.